News presents Community Focus.
Good morning. Welcome to Community Focus this Sunday morning. I'm your host, Amy Simpson. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Thanks for tuning in. I'm very excited this morning to be joined by Sergeant First Class Michael Warrick of the U.S. Army. Welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here. And this is an area, the Twin Tier is very proud of our military. And you have an interesting role in the local military. And I am so excited to hear about some of the programs that you're recruiting for and some options that young people have for their future that they might not even know about yet. So maybe today will be the day that they can learn.
Absolutely. Hopefully, yes.
Good stuff. So you are located at the Arnett Mall in Horseheads. Tell us about what you do every day.
So every day we go in our community and we basically tell the public about the benefits and the opportunities that the Army Reserves could offer them. Whether it's at a high school, sporting event, any kind of community event.
So you are targeting high school students then?
Not strictly high school. Anybody who is in the age of 17 to 35.
Wow.
But we talk to everybody, senior citizens, so on and so forth, just to anybody who's really willing to lend an ear about what the Army has to offer or stories, stuff like that.
For you personally, though, how has the Army impacted your life? What has your journey been like?
It has completely changed my life for the positive. I'm a Horseheads graduate, and when I graduated Horseheads, I always knew what I wanted to do, and that was to be some form of law enforcement. So after graduation, I pursued coroning under their criminal justice program. When I got there, brick and mortar just wasn't for me. I'm a social butterfly, and academics just wasn't a good fit at the time. So shortly thereafter, a recruiter contacted me, and previously to that day, I'd give every recruiter what I call the Heisman, every time.
The cold shoulder.
Yeah, just because, my perception was just negative. So I gave him, an hour of my time, and he started talking about travel and benefits, opportunities. And at the time, I was like, this is probably the best thing for me to get me on the right path. So I jumped on it, and I haven't looked back since.
And that was what year?
That was back in '98.
Okay.
And I came in for a quick 2-year stint. I went to Korea, had a great time, and I got out. Then I went to college around here. And once again, I realized that brick and mortar wasn't for me. So I did come back in 2004.
That's great. So started back in '98, and now it's almost 20 years later.
Yeah.
And you've probably come a little bit full circle now that you're trying to get other young people involved.
Yeah, very much so. And that's previous to my assignment as a recruiter at the Arnett Mall. I actually had a couple opportunities where I could have gone and done what's called a SMU. And I'd have made a little bit more money. But when I saw an opportunity to come back home and to talk to my community about the opportunities, I jumped on it. When I came in initially, I was on tanks. It's a great job. It's armed recruitment, and it's a great job. But about 7 years in, I changed my job to counterintelligence, and that job has opened up so many doors for me, which most of them do. Like, every job is very important, and there's a lot of skill set in it and stuff like that. But counterintel for me, which is a great opportunity, and that job allowed me to achieve my goal, to be a law enforcement. So what I do for that job is I conduct investigations on crimes of national security, acts of terrorism, espionage, and so forth. For lack of better verbiage, I'm here to preach the gospel.
So if you were looking at yourself 20 years ago, graduating Horseheads High School, put yourself in their shoes. What kind of things are you going to be explaining to them, teaching them about these recruitment programs so that they can have a positive experience like you did?
Whatever their goal would be and is, that you can achieve it or get you closer to that goal by leveraging these programs, whether it's coming in the active side or going in the reserves, because going active is not for everybody. Going in the reserves is not for everybody. If you want to come out of high school and straight going to college, the reserves is a great program. You can do 1 week in a month, 2 weeks during the summer months, and the active obviously is a full-time job. It's just the college benefits alone in that aspect is just phenomenal. I mean, active duty with the post-on-living GI Bill, after 3 years of consecutive service, you get close to $100,000 towards college. Covers any in-state tuition plus. These are just great programs.
Yeah, so speaking of those programs, what are some different avenues that somebody could be looking at if they're interested in pursuing some of these things?
Now, when you say avenues, break that down a little bit for me.
So there's the active duty route,
okay.
there's reserves, there's college programs,
Right.
there's
Absolutely.
ROTC programs.
Right. Okay.
So what kind of choices do people have?
So if you want to go straight reserves, then again you can attend college full time. If you go to a four-year college that has a ROTC program, you can apply for that program, and certain aspects of that program they can pick up your full ride, or you come in the freshman program and not get picked up, then go through your freshman sophomore year and reapply, and they'll pick up your junior year. I mean, there's so many programs. There are the Minuteman Scholarship, where you come in the reserves, get into an ROTC program. You go through your what's considered your ambassador through the ROTC program, and he can, if you qualify, there's your full ride right there through the Minuteman Scholarship program. There's the S&P program, the simultaneously membership program, where you go into reserves and do an ROTC program as well. And let's say you don't qualify for the Minuteman or get picked up in the full ride, you shadow a lieutenant. So when you do your weekend drills, you're not doing, the other job what you came in for. You'd be actually shadowing a lieutenant, making E5 pay the whole time until you commission after you get your 4 degree. So, I mean, that's just 3 or 4 of the many programs. There's warrant officer program. There's so many programs, and that's what we really try to do is get, hopefully an hour of someone's time and say, listen, by coming out of our office, you're not obligated to anything. It's really about getting the information. At the end of that conversation, if you're like, this is awesome, I want to do this, perfect. Let's go to the next step. Otherwise, I appreciate your time. Have a great day. Listen, if you want, or if you could for us, pass the information on. Because I guarantee you, throughout that day, you're going to bump into at least 1, if not 2 people who could use that information. Because it's not so much just the high school graduate. It's someone else out there who, is looking to get a better job, a more enhanced skill set. Stuff like that. So people just don't join for the college. People join for travel reasons or excitement, adventure, stuff like that.
It sounds like there really could be a program or a setup tailored to somebody's specific goals or their wants or needs.
Absolutely.
At that point in their life. It doesn't have to be one cookie cutter track for everybody going forward.
Absolutely.
That's important. So for somebody who sits down and listens to you for an hour, what happens from there if they decide that they are interested in taking that next step? From hearing your experience, it doesn't sound like they sign on the dotted line and they're shipped overseas,
No.
and it's not just combat.
Right. Exactly. So when we first come in, you sit down. If the Army Reserves is for you, then what we do is basically work in steps to get you test qualified. So there's the test everybody takes in the military. It's the ASVAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Once we get you to pass that, then we get you through the physical part. It's basically like a glorified sports physical. And once we get you through that, then this is what's very unique about the Army that I love is that we can pull and look at jobs that you qualify for in our office, which is fantastic. If I had my computer right here today, I could look at jobs right now. Let's say for hypothetical you were to apply.
Got it.
Which is fantastic. Because I like options, I like opportunities. I like to know what I could be getting into. And with that, those jobs that we could look at, it would show, when you'd be leaving to go to basic training, how long, when you'd go to your job skills training, which is your advanced individual training, any options as far as a bonus or a 2x2x4 contract, airborne, ranger, so on and so forth. You mentioned earlier, combat roles. So we really only have right around 7 jobs that are combat, but we have over 150 occupations in the Army. We have supply, we have transportation, medical alone. We have 23 jobs in medical. And those can transition on to a much better future. If you really want to pursue it and put that time in, you can become a doctor. It's really about how much you want to put in. I'm a assistant coach for a high school local football team, and it's just like a football program or any sports program. Or anything that, for that matter in life, is what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So if you really pursue it, sky's the limit.
And you're a great example of this as well, too, for somebody coming right out of school, not really sure that college was for them.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like you put a couple years in and then went back to school.
Yeah, I did. I got out. I tried my college shoes on again. They were a little too tight. So I decided to come back in just because at that time in my life, I knew, it was just a matter of time until I needed to get a career path going. And I knew coming back in the Army was probably one of the most easiest ways to be highly successful. If you can do three basic things in the Army, you're going to be successful. One is to show up in the right uniform. If you work at, Corning Inc., you're not going to be showing up wearing McDonald's uniform. That's just, common knowledge. Number two, do what you're told. Any other employer requires that. And then be on time. You can do those three things, you're going to be successful. So, yeah. And I came back in, and like I said, I haven't looked back since. And I've traveled. I've been to Colorado and Hawaii and Iraq twice. That was, believe it or not, good times. I met great people over there and had a lot of good memories over there. But I hit 15 years in May. Good times.
15 years, but I'm sure it's kind of gone by in the blink of an eye as well.
Honestly, it's funny you say that, because that's what I tell a lot of high schoolers that we talk to is, because you see a 3 or 4 year or 5 year contract, and they're like, oh, it's a long time. I say, you know what? Look back when you were a freshman till now you're graduating here in 2.5, 3 months. Went by just like that, and they're like, wow, you're right. I'm like, that's, believe it or not, when you graduate, it really speeds up. You get thrown out there in the real world, college or job, workforce, whatever you're going to be doing, it really picks up. And I don't really want to say it, but I'm turning 39 tomorrow. And it just seems like, maybe not yesterday, but a couple of days ago, I graduated high school from Horseheads. So it's gone by really, really fast.
That's great. Local guy, too, so it helps to have that connection to the local
Absolutely.
prospects.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Well, great to hear about these programs. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to hear about some of the upcoming programs that the Army Recruitment has in the coming weeks and how you can get some more information. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Community Focus this Sunday morning. If you're just now tuning in, I'm joined today by Sergeant First Class Michael Warrick of the U.S. Army. Welcome.
Thank you.
And also now joined by Dr. Michael Farrell, who is an anesthesiologist at Guthrie Corning Hospital. Welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you guys this morning. We just heard a lot about different Army recruitment programs available to young people in our area. And now we can hear from a success story who's now local, originally from up near Utica. Dr. Farrell, tell us about your journey through Army recruitment and how it got you to where you are today.
Well, for me, from the time I was a little boy, I wanted to do something with the military. I didn't know what branch I wanted to go into, but it was just something in the back of my mind. I also wanted to go to medical school, and I didn't really know how those two worlds matched up. It wasn't until after my freshman year of college that a friend of mine was visiting with a recruiter, and kind of like you had mentioned.
Yeah.
I tagged along to see what they had to say, and it kind of hit all the bullet points. I was able to go to school. I was able to do military training. I was able to get a skill and see how I wanted to go about things. See if military life was for me, see if medical life was for me. So for me, the reserves was a good way of starting out. And so in 1996, I enlisted in the reserves as a combat medic, and went through basic training, and was up in a unit in Utica, New York for 6 years, and started off as a general hospital, transferred to a forward surgical team, and then after I got into medical school, I went through their HPSP program, which is the Health Professions Scholarship Program, and that paid for everything. It paid for all of medical school, all of my supplies, health insurance. I had a monthly stipend, and at the time, I could go to any medical school that I wanted to. I wasn't forced to go here or there. I wasn't forced to go to their school. So I got my medical degree. I did my residency in Cleveland, and then after residency was finished, I went onto active duty, and I was in Fort Bliss for 4 years. Had a nice little trip to Afghanistan at one point, and 3 years ago, my time was up, and my family and I moved here. But it was the right choice for me. It was a good way to see everything that the Army had to offer. And when I was done with my reserve contract, I had the opportunity to get out, and I liked what I was doing, so I stayed with the Army.
So it's interesting to hear you talk about your journey because, like you said, it had all the bullet points. It kind of hit everything you wanted to accomplish. But for me, what I'm hearing, too, is money talks. And pursuing a medical profession is not an inexpensive venture. And it's impressive to hear that not only were you able to accomplish your goals of being in the military, going to medical school, and graduating as a doctor, but you were able to do it and get paid for it.
Right.
And not have bills to pay when you got out of
Right.
school. That's really impressive.
Yeah, I have zero loans. I owe nothing. I have friends that have many thousands and thousands of dollars of debt. I owe nothing. I am completely paid off.
That's
And
impressive.
while I was doing my active duty time, I was still getting paid for my 4 years of active duty.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So for young people who, when you said after your freshman year of college is when, or during your freshman year of college is when you sat down and you heard what the recruiter had to
Right.
say, what would you recommend a young person do if they're interested in following a similar path as you?
Keep an open mind. That's the first thing. Not everybody is out to get you. There's the horror stories of, my recruiter told me this, my recruiter told me that. Just listen and do your own research. It's hard when you're, 18, 19 years old. You maybe don't do as much research as you should. I was guilty of that too. I just kind of went forward. It worked out. But do your research, talk to people who've been in, get everybody's opinion. Good, bad, find out what it's like and decide if it's at least something to explore. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life. It's only a few years at a time, but you also want to make sure that you're doing it because you want to. You're doing it for the right reasons. And as long as you go in doing that, you'll be in good shape.
How does it feel to hear a success story like this as a recruiter now?
It's great because Dr. Farrell was saying that some people have that misperception. So like he was saying, take information in, do your research. Because there have been in the past, like you said, horror stories, but that's awesome. That's a huge success story. And it's just proof in the pudding, if you will, that he had hopes and dreams of being a doctor. He wanted to get a little taste of the military, see what it was like, have some fun with it. So he accomplished everything he wanted to do by just really, at the end of the day, giving a recruiter maybe an hour of your time.
About an hour, yeah.
and making that decision. And I'm sure that on the spot he didn't make the decision. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But we highly encourage everybody to do your homework. I'll tell you right now, whatever I say, Google it. Hands down, Google it. Because, one, I'm not going to lie to you, this is my backyard, too. And I'm Horseheads, I was born in Elmira, moved to Horseheads when I was about 11, but this is my backyard. So I'm not about, burning anybody's bridges, let alone people in my own backyard. But any success story is always a positive, and like I tell people, coming up, I want to do law enforcement, like I spoke earlier. Getting the opportunity to do counterintelligence, I've worked with, certain three-letter agencies doing what we do, and it's fantastic. So when I retire, I'm probably going to do 25 years, so I got another 10 to go. I'm probably going to try to do some private investigator work here in New York State, and that way I'm on my own schedule, my own company, doing my own thing, and I can kick back. And it's just too easy to build whatever credentials, resume, whatever you want to do, education. Like for example, when I went through counterintelligence course, it's 5 months in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I got 23 college credits for that course. It cost me $50, and my GPA was a 3.76. When I attended Corning, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not even going to tell you what GPA was. It was just because, again, I was not brick and mortar.
We can keep it off the record. That's
Yeah,
all right. You can tell me later.
Yeah, good. It's just, I don't know, again, as long as you put your time in, you're going to have a successful story.
Possibilities are endless, is what I'm gathering.
Absolutely.
So for somebody who's on the fence then, a young person who, whether they see this program or their mom or dad or somebody in their life is saying, hey, just check this out, what would you say to them if they're on the fence?
By coming in, you really have nothing to lose. You're coming in, and any information or knowledge, for that matter, is power. Knowledge is power. So, and sooner or later, you're going to make a decision for a career path, whether it's going to college first or so on and so forth. And the more information you have, given that situation, the better decision you're going to make, and that's just hands down. So again, if you give us an hour, maybe an hour and a half of your time, depends on how the conversation goes. I tend to be a talker. I guarantee you're going to walk away with a lot of information, more than you probably even thought about knowing about some of the opportunities.
And Dr. Farrell, what would you say to somebody who's on the fence?
At least give it a fair shot. Look things over. Talk to people. It's not for everyone. And again, I'm a firm believer of you have to want to do it to be successful at it. Look at all your options. There are so many different things that you can do with the military. I went the medical route, but you want to play in the band.
Exactly.
You can do it. Figure out what you want to do. And you know what? Maybe you get into the military and you're in one specialty and you think, this really isn't it for me. That's fine. You've had a couple years of experience. Go to school while you're in the military. They will pay for your college courses to take a course or two every semester. Get that under your belt as well. So if you decide that you don't want to stay in, you've already got some credits to you when you get out. Use your time wisely. Take advantage of every opportunity that's given to you. And definitely do it again.
And as you said earlier too, you get out of it what you put into it.
Oh, absolutely. And what the great thing is too is that along that road, you will consistently have people by your side motivating you. The non-commissioned officers of the Army. That's our prime purpose, is to motivate you to accomplish your goals, personal and professional. Which is fantastic. Because I know when I came in, I was probably lacking a little bit of motivation, and I met a great guy. He was one of my drill sergeants, and his name was Drill Sergeant Tagalolagi. Very long name. This guy was probably 6'5", 260, Samoan, great guy. I barely understand him because he had a very thick accent, but I still talk to him to this day. He really changed so much in me, and in the Army, I've had most people, I would say, have had great leadership. And you take a little bit from them, learn from it, and you just build on the cornerstones that make you you.
So you also have some upcoming programs and events in the next couple of months. Talk to me about the Salute to Future Soldiers coming up on April 20th.
Okay, so we are doing a little event up there at the American Legion in Corning, where all our future soldiers right now that are getting ready to ship out within the next couple of weeks out to probably July, August time frame. They're coming. Their families coming. We invited a lot of people in the area, a lot of school officials and some politicians, stuff like that. It's basically just a tribute to them, honor their commitment to joining the Army Reserves. It's about a 2-hour event on April 20th. It's catered to Olive Garden, which is fantastic because I love Olive Garden. So it should be a really great time.
That's exciting. And then any other upcoming events? I know you said something about a football tournament in July.
Yes, we are co-sponsoring a 7-on-7 football tournament up at Ithaca College on the 8th and 9th of July. We work with the New York State High School Football Coaches Association. It's a great event. High schools from all around New York State come up there and they compete for a 7-on-7 tournament. A little trophy. It's a great way for them to brush off the dust. Get back in the swing of things for the up-and-coming season and the fall, which is great. I love doing it too because I help out with the Horses High School program with Kevin Hillman and all those guys. I love it. It's fantastic. So that's a great event coming up.
Exciting stuff. Well, we are almost out of time, but where can people go to get some more information about contacting you or just to learn more about the programs we've talked about?
One of the easiest ways is come to the Army Mall. We're located right next to the JCPenney's. You can go on the internet and just Google GoArmy.com. It's a great way to get a lot of information, benefits, jobs. I'll show some videos with just about every job. Or you can contact me directly, 607-267-9167, or our office line, 607-796-5323. We're up there, 5 days, sometimes 6 days out of the week, all day long, and we have a voicemail, so we need that too.
Good stuff. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Great to hear about the programs. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you back here next Sunday.